Andy Johnson, Minnesota State University. Understanding the Science of Reading for Parents. How do children learn to read? These are the things that we are going to go over in this series of video lectures. And my goal is to address two of the ununderstandings that lead to ineffective reading instruction. My goal is to move you from ununderstanding closer to understanding, related to the science of reading and how the brain creates meaning with print. So first, let's take a look at the science of reading and think about these questions. What is the scientific method? How is science used to help us understand reading and reading instruction? What's a theory and why are they important? And why are they important? And what has been proven regarding the importance of word reading accuracy? So let's take a look at the traditional view of science. The traditional view of the scientific process goes something like this. You get two groups. You measure them before the study begins. You do something to one group and you don't do it to the other group. You control everything else so that the two groups are as similar as possible except for the one thing. Then after a bit, you measure them to see if there are differences between the two groups. If there are, that you can say that the thing that you did to the one group was the cause of the differences. And many think of this as the scientific method. This is sometimes called controlled experimental research or controlled experimental studies. You control all the variables except for one, the treatment, in order to find out if something was the cause of something else. However, one idea I would hope you would take with you is this. There is no such thing as the scientific method. Instead, there are methods of science. Controlled experimental research is one of many methods of science. To insist that this is the only method of science that can be used to understand reading and reading instruction is to insist that we look at reading reality through a tube. Our view and thus our understanding of reading and reading instruction are greatly impeded by such a tube-shaped vision. Yet, this is exactly what the U.S. Department of Education and other groups have done. They have insisted, they have mandated that the only knowledge that counts for reading instruction is that which is derived through controlled experimental research. The same methods used to study bacteria in a petri dish should be used to study children in a classroom, so they say. In reading, they call this scientifically based reading research. This insular view demonstrates a limited understanding of educational research and leads to the great ununderstanding. Also, this peephole-based view of reality misses a lot of data. And how could anything be said to be truly scientific if it chooses to ignore a wealth of very important data? So, this is a good place to look at a bit of research by Stephen Kusser, looking at word reading accuracy and comprehension. This bit of research would be totally dismissed by those who cling so tightly to the peephole view of educational research. Yet it tells us much about reading and reading instruction. Kusser's 2016 study focused on word reading accuracy and comprehension of expository text or informational books with fourth grade students. Now, starting in fourth grade, students encounter more expository text than narrative text. They move from learning to read to reading to learn. and expository texts are a bit different from narrative texts or stories. For one thing, there's more lexical density, which means there's more content words and clauses and concepts jammed into each sentence. For this study, Kusser used fourth grade students from two different schools. He examined students' miscues and how they related to comprehension. A miscue is when what students read during oral reading doesn't match what's on the page. For example, when the text says run to the top of the hill, a reader might say rat to the top of the hill. Saying rat instead of run is an example of a miscue. We don't call them errors because sometimes miscues are not errors at all, but mature reading behaviors. And this will become a little bit more clear in just a minute. Now, Kusser looked at two types of miscues, meaning disrupting miscues and meaning maintaining miscues. A meaning disrupting miscue is when the miscued word doesn't fit within the context of the sentence. The author's intended meaning is disrupted. Rat to the top of the hill is an example of this. It doesn't make sense. Meaning is disrupted. A meaning maintaining miscue is when the miscued word maintains the author's intended meaning. For example, if the reader said rush to the top of the hill or runs to the top of the hill instead of run to the top of the hill, the word identify does not match what's on the page, yet the author's meaning is maintained. It stays intact. For this study, students read text aloud. Their oral readings were recorded and their miscues were analyzed. Retellings were used to assess comprehension and recall. Now, you would think that the clauses in which there were no miscues, where students read words with 100% accuracy, would be more likely to be recalled and comprehended. After all, good reading is accurate reading. Is that not so? Well, no. When comparing the clauses with meaning maintaining miscues with the clauses with 100% word reading accuracy or no miscues, the clauses in which there were meaning maintaining miscues were significantly more likely to be comprehended and recalled. Now, this indicates that for comprehending and remembering what's read, accuracy and maintaining meaning is significantly more important than word reading accuracy. Now, why might this be? In producing meaning maintaining miscues, the reader has to generate an alternative way of expressing the same idea. This means that readers are attending to the deep meaning of the text or the ideas while reading, more than they're attending to the surface structure or the arrangement of letters and words. As well, meaning maintaining miscues tell us that the reader is relying on semantic information, which is the context of the sentence, as well as syntactic information, which is grammar in word order, and not just on phonological information. This reliance on all three cueing systems is a mature reading behavior. Using just one cueing system while reading is not. Meaning maintaining miscues are possible only because the reader is attending to the ideas being read instead of the words and the arrangement of letters. So, three things to take from this. An over-reliance on phonics, on letter-sound relationships, can get in the way of comprehending, and that's the whole purpose for reading in the first place. Second, instructional strategies that focus on maintaining the author's meaning are more important than strategies focusing on word reading accuracy and speed. But what tends to get most of our attention in reading class, especially with struggling readers? And third, a point I'll hit you with a couple of times tonight, the brain uses 3 cueing systems to recognize words while reading. The semantic cueing system, the syntactic cueing system, and the phonological cueing system, including only strategies and instruction to develop the phonological cueing system, as is done in most skills-based phonics-heavy reading programs, severely impedes students' development as readers, especially those readers who might struggle with phonics in the first place. Traditionally, students who struggled with phonics were given more phonics instruction so they could not be good at something to an even greater degree. Instead, phonics instruction should complement strategies and activities to develop the other 2 cueing systems. Studies like the Kusser study are essential in helping us understand reading, the reading process, and how the brain creates meaning with print. This understanding enables us to design effective reading instruction and interventions. Now, research does not prove things. It supports or doesn't support a hypothesis. And each study provides a bit of data. These data are used to create theories. A theory, when used in the context of science, is not a disproven idea or an untested assumption. A theory is a way to explain a set of facts. Theories are used to understand and explain phenomena. A theory is a dot-to-dot picture connecting a variety of data dots. Each data dot is created by a research study. Different theories connect different data dots differently. Hence, you can have 2 or more different theories explaining the same phenomenon differently. In the case of reading, there are 2 common theories that will be explained in a bit. One theory connects a lot of data dots and accounts for a wide variety of phenomena. The other theory, not so much. It ignores data dots and leaves much phenomena unexplained. One theory enables a more complete understanding of the phenomenon known as reading, and the other does not. And we'll be turning to that next.